What's up, guys? This is Tai Zen, and with me today I have some very special guests from the cryptocurrency community. With me to my right, I have the Honorable Grandmaster, legendary, world-renowned LeonFu.com, right? The great oracle of cryptocurrency. And then with me in the studio, we also have Micah Spruill, and he is one of the advisors to the Particl project, and he's also a veteran cryptocurrency investor. All right, say hello.
Hey.
And then in the video, we have Rhino Mate. He is the lead core developer for the Particl project, and he is joining us live from South Africa. Say hello, Rhino.
Hi, everyone.
All right. And then joining us from the city of Columbus, which is located in the state of Ohio, from the northern part of the United States of America, we have Paul. All right. He's joining us. He's one of the communications manager for the Particl project. Say hello, Paul.
Hello.
All right. So previously, guys, in part one, we gave you guys an introduction to the Particl project, its background and where it came from. And then in the second part, we talked about the technology, the Particl technology, and the need and the necessity for the Particl project. In this third part, we want to talk about the value of the Particl project. As an investor, we always want to know what the potential value of it is going to be, right? So let's go ahead and start, right? And talk about the potential of a privacy-focused marketplace. Does Particl's marketplace have exponential growth, right? Will it get, or is it just a niche marketplace like Silk Road? Can you talk about that, Micah?
Yeah, I think that as with any of these things, it's going to start out niche.
Yeah.
You're going to have people, kind of the early adopters, first adopters. Paul's written on this in his latest blog article, kind of the growth curve of these networks, where you have like small percentages of early people coming on, and then eventually it grows and grows. Not only as word spreads about the platform, but also as the technology improves. There's hurdles and obstacles all along the way to make it more user friendly and to get greater adoption. And so all those things, as those issues are addressed, we expect it not to just be niche, but also to penetrate markets far beyond just niche markets. Now, will it be an Amazon size, reach? Maybe not, but that's not necessarily what it's trying to do. There was a figure I read recently that the developing markets, the e-commerce for developing markets was well into the tens and tens of billions. And so, if you're looking at markets like that, those would also be kind of where we would target just beyond the niche, where, again, people may not have access to Amazon, eBay, and more traditional sites like that. Those are the markets we would hope to kind of reach into. And so there's a lot of room to expand. You have niche markets where there might be a few $100 million in revenue a year or in sales a year into the billion, $2 billion, $3 billion range. But as you break out of just the Silk Road types and whatnot, you start accessing much larger amounts of capital.
So it's fair to say that at the beginning, in the near term, you're definitely going to be a niche market.
Absolutely.
And then hopefully you hope to build from that niche market to hopefully something closer to mainstream.
Right.
Yes.
Not just through word of mouth, but through by offering better and better technology.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So if that's the case, right, I'm sure that who are your customers going to be? Let's talk about the vendors that's going to be on the marketplace and the customers,
Mm-hmm.
Who are they and why would they want to be anonymous?
Right. So as we've mentioned, I think in one of the other parts before this, there's a long list of things that they're not available on Amazon, eBay. You can't pay for them with PayPal. These may not even be gray market items where they're like legal in some countries, illegal in others. There's just items that you can't buy.
For business compare, like let's say for example, like right now, in the U.S., the two popular cell phones are the ones from the iPhone from Apple,
Yep.
and the Samsung Galaxy phones from Samsung.
Right.
But then in China right now, they have what's called the Xiaomi
Mm-hmm.
phones, but they're not illegal. They're just not available to be sold in the U.S.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So-
and those would be examples of things that you'd find on here. But not only that, it's not necessarily, those aren't things that you would necessarily need the anonymity for or whatever. But there are items that you're not allowed to sell them or buy them for whatever reason or another. And some of these are totally harmless items, and the country just censors what you can do.
Can you give us
They
an
want-
example of one?
There,
You mentioned about cigars.
well, yeah, cigars would be one. I mean, until recently, you weren't allowed to buy or sell cigars in the United States, because of the embargoes on Cuba. Things like that, I see those items pop up on like the dark nets.
And it's
If
not
you
illegal.
go-
It's perfectly legal for us to have cigars in America.
Right, you just can't get them, getting them
From Cuba.
Yeah, right, exactly. Something like that would be illegal. There's thousands, tens of thousands of items on the darknet markets that are not illegal at all necessarily. They're not harmful to humans. They're not like drugs or anything. But I can go on there and source them freely, like sunglasses and shirts, clothing from China. There's some clothing from China that's completely banned. They just don't allow it into the country. And so items like that, you could now bridge the gap between a U.S. buyer and a Chinese seller or someone in India. For whatever reason, they don't allow these items to be sold on mainstream. They get pulled off.
And you're saying it has nothing to do with it being illegal.
No, not
It's
necessarily.
perfectly
Yeah.
legal products. It's just for whatever business.
Chinese solar panels.
What's that?
What's that, Rhino?
Chinese solar panels, for instance, they're not allowed to be sold in America.
Chinese solar panels.
Yeah, right, right. There's all sorts of products. I think, and you'll see them show up on the darknet markets, but and that's maybe one of the only places they can sell them. There's also Chinese websites that have this stuff that if you were to throw it on Amazon, it would be pulled off because it would be seen as either a copy or it's too competitive to something that someone else says you can't sell. Sure. There's all sorts of items out there that for one reason or another, the governments or even corporations just say that's not allowed. PayPal has a whole list of items that you can't buy and sell. Like alcohol. There are things like Amazon, eBay. You can't. If there's like a moonshine that I want to get, they'll just take it off. You can't get it. Same with cigars. You're not allowed to sell cigars in there. Any tobacco products. So there's a whole host of products, especially niche products that you'd now be able to sell freely, anonymously and securely.
And you have something to add to that, Paul?
Yeah, I would just kind of to summarize it up. There's a whole list of vendors that have kind of been left behind, and it's been because companies have decided they can't use their platform, or they just have been. It's not available, and there's a whole large group of customers that have also been left behind, either by their country, putting bans on or whatever. That's kind of the area we're focusing on.
I also I can also see a very good use case for this Particl marketplace. So, like on the front face or on the cover of our business, the most of the world only sees myself and Leon. They don't see the rest of our team in the background, right? And one of the problems, one of the challenges that our team ran into is that there's more than just two of us.
Right.
It's just that everyone else wants to remain private and anonymous, and they don't want to be public, right? But when we went to go and establish our business corporation, our business LLC for this channel, we have people, our business partners are all in different states. And when we went to Chase Bank to try to set up the business banking account or checking account, they would not allow us to set it up because each of us were in a different city. And we were an online business, so we run a YouTube channel. We don't need to be in the same city, but their banking laws will not allow us to set up an account. So we had to create and we had to fill out an application. Our other business partners that were located in other cities had to set up to request a document to add a member to our business. Right, and so it's just a really big hassle,
red tape
and we had to do that, and we just couldn't go there and set up a merchant account with Chase Bank because our business partner was in another city.
Right.
Yeah. It was really difficult for us to get all of us together in one city to sign all the documents, and they wouldn't allow that. Sure. I can see something like the Particl Marketplace is a place where if we were not in the same city, we can still go on there and do business and sell our products and services. Without the need for a central authority such as a banking institution to tell us that we have to be in the same location to sign the documents to do business together. Yep. So, and even though the majority of our business partners were in the same city and we acknowledged that this other partner was in a different city, was our partner, they still would not accept that. So I can see that's where a vendor or a merchant would want to do business there and not have to go through all that nonsense. And in some of the third world countries, they're not going to go through all that to set up a business. Okay,
absolutely.
So all right, so let's talk about the value. This is probably one of the most important parts of all these videos. Let's talk about the value of the Particl project so that our investors can see. And this is obviously from your perspective, and you're on the Particl team. We'll come out with a later video where we give our perspective, but in this, when we want to talk about your perspective.
Well, I even though I put this on the fifth one, I think I'd like you to first explain what is a particle, actually, okay?
Right.
Before we even talk about how much the project's worth or how much these tokens could be worth, why don't you first say a little bit about what it is,
right?
And then and then from there, of the other questions such as why should we as investors invest in the Particl projects? What are you charging? The whole like, what are you asking for from investors? What's the price tag? Right? What's the valuation?
So let's do one at a time. What's the Particl token represent?
Yeah, good question. So this was something we focused on a lot when we were working through the transition from the Shadow project to Particl and how we were going to structure things, whether we were going to keep them similar or do away with it as a currency and just have it as a network token. We went back and forth in trying to decide how to actually tackle this issue. And one of the things we wanted to keep with the features of the Particl token was that it would be, as you own this token, it is essentially like ownership of a piece of the network. And that's a really big thing for me personally too. When I look at platforms and projects, I want to, if I can, I want to own a piece of the network where I'm harvesting or receiving fees, not just staking, but also network fees. So where just like I would own stock in eBay or Amazon, and so I'm a shareholder, and all the traffic that goes across the network, all the fees that get extracted from the network, they get split up and distributed to users. And so what that does, and this is one of the things we talked about, is that if a Particl token is like owning a share of the network, then it creates evangelists among all the token holders. So investors are now saying, hey, you should use this network because they're part of the network. It behooves you to use this token. So what we want to do is kind of tackle it from both angles where, holding the token pays you as a token holder shares to the network and through staking, but also it is used as fuel. So there's a supply and demand going on there too. So as more users come on and they come to acquire Particl tokens as fuel for the network, just like you'd get Ether.
Ether, similar to Ethereum or
right.
Bitcoin for the Bitcoin network.
Right, exactly. Yes. So there's going to be two different types of people that are going to be in favor of this structure and that are going to be wanting to hold the tokens.
To make it clear for the viewer, right? You're saying that when somebody holds a Particl token, there's several things they can do with it. One is that the tokens, if they leave their computer on and they turn it on because it's a proof of stake system and not a proof of work system, they can let their computer run while it's holding the tokens.
And it pays you interest.
And it secures the network and processes the transactions. And in return for that, you get rewarded by the entire network for that.
It's kind of like mining, but way easier.
Okay.
Anyone can do it. If you hold tokens, then you're essentially
just leave your
mining.
computer running and then it processes it. Okay, so that's the first thing.
Very low barrier to
entry. Second thing is you said that as new people come into the network and they need these tokens as fuel to process their transactions, right? Yep. And so the fact that there's more demand for these tokens will increase the value of those tokens. Right. Okay. All right. So that's how I just want to make it clear. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just run down the list here. So when we contribute to this fundraising round that you're currently on, what is this money going to do? Like, where's this? What are you guys going to use this for? Right?
No. Okay, so we'll talk about that in another slide.
Okay.
But let's go down here, right?
Let's go down.
When we are giving you, what is the value of this whole project? Let's just go down the question so that it doesn't confuse the audience here.
Yeah, I mean, these things, again, because they're startups, they're hard to value. But what you can do is you can look at other projects similar in space and kind of extrapolate from there.
So let's
And-
start with the baseline that when we first researched the Particle project, you guys, coming from the Shadow project,
Right.
They were worth like $1.50, $1.60 US dollars, right? What do you see or you project as the valuation for the Particle project once it matures, right? Not right now, right? Not right after the seed round, but once
we have the product out.
Yeah,
and
you have
the
a product
structure.
and you have a structure.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I see it definitely being in the $10 range, at least somewhere there or higher, because what we've noticed, and some of that's from speculators and some of that's from long-term holders, but we think that once we have the product out, the structure in place, after the seed round, all of that, with the prior project that was going for a similar thing but didn't even have any product out, we were seeing in the ballpark of $3 to $5 per token, and that was with hardly anything out. And so what we expect with the marketplace, at a $10 token, you're looking at about a $70 to $75 million valuation. If you look at other privacy products that are simply just tokens for privacy, like Dash, Monero, Zcash, those are 50 to $700 million coins. With the middle valuation range being probably 100 to 200 million.
But I would argue that in the case of Monero, they actually have some adoption.
Yes, they absolutely do, and so that obviously comes later. But the cool thing with Particl is that it not only functions as a fungible currency for privacy, where I could take it and just use it like Bitcoin or use it like Monero or Zcash. It also has a marketplace tied to it that is essentially equity in the market. So by holding this token, I'm gaining value from it being a privacy token, which I think we all could agree there's a large amount of value there as especially newcomers come in and say, hey, I want to use this as a store of value. But also as people come in to use the network or to invest in the network, put the money in and let it sit. So if you combine all those features together, I think a $50 to $75 million valuation is at least the minimum once you get the product out and it matures some. But we'd certainly expect valuations north of 100 million once you have everything kind of flushed out, working well, and word spreads. And I don't see why it couldn't be one of the top 3 or 4 anonymous currencies, just as a standalone currency.
Okay, so so let me make sure that I'm hearing you correctly so that the investors understand this, right? So as an investor, when you tell me that you project that the Particl project, you can see it, right? I mean, there's no guarantees in life, right? But let's just you see this as a $10 token right now to the it's $1.50. It's the value. The current project it's
Kind of fluctuates.
Yeah, it fluctuates 10 million, right? $1.50 per token, and you're saying that hey, you can see this over $100 million project to grow to that point when it matures.
If the team delivers and does what they say they're going to do, and we have coins out there that don't really even have a product yet that are 50 to 100 million.
And you're saying that you see this $10 per token valuation
At least.
simply because you said that previously when it was historic past, when it was Shadow Cash or Shadow Pi, it didn't have a lot of features or anything like that.
$6.
And it got as high as $5, $6. So you're saying that with the marketplace in place, with a solid, fully staffed team that's fully paid, because the Shadow Cash project was working by a bunch of volunteers, part-time.
It was a hobby project,
Yeah.
And people were valuing it at anywhere from $15 to $30 million, different fluctuations. But with this, you're getting full-time team, double the size. We have professional legal counsel, professional PR and marketing that we've hired. There's all these professional teams that we've brought on board to help advisors and better branding, more mainstream adoption. I mean, with the prior project, it was definitely
the name Shadow Cash is not positive.
It hindered growth.
Sure.
Some people were like unsure of what they wanted to say they were invested in or not.
Yeah.
So with all of these things going in, I mean, I would be shocked if it didn't at least
Reach $10?
at least and beyond.
Okay.
If you just
so
look at
basically you're
everything-
saying that with nothing before and a bunch of volunteers, the project on its own was able to grow to a $5, $6 per token, and now you're projecting a $10. So that's not very very conservative.
That would be very conservative in my opinion. Correct.
And only because now it's got a full-time staff, right? A full-time team, people working on it full-time. You got a professional PR firm. You got funding for it and everything. So now it's I can so that okay. So now the
We
investors
think the
can
market
say,
will really like that.
Sure.
okay, and also you're saying that based on other successful projects like Monero, Dash, and them, they've all gone past this.
I mean,
amount.
some of them have broken 200 or 300 million. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that we are at that level or we're not.
You're just
at
looking
that
at the
level.
bare minimum.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So next question here is, why should people give you money for this project? Why? And when I say you, I mean the entire Particl team.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
Rhino
right,
and
the
them.
team.
Why should investors or
Contributors.
right? Why should they contribute their tokens to you guys? And when I say you guys, the entire Particl project team, right?
I think that most of the people that have decided to come aboard Particl, if you go in the chat rooms and you talk to the people and the people that we know on the team and people that I know, everyone really believes in the value proposition, and that if we can get this out there to be basically the first decentralized privacy network for e-commerce, that if you're a first mover,
First to market,
all that, there's huge value potential there. And not only that, you're a part of something and a movement that, a lot of people like Bitcoin space and Ethereum, all the cryptocurrency guys, we all have this common belief that everyone should have privacy and the right to privacy. And so when you talk to people that are involved in the project, some people, they've gone, with the ups and downs, the good news, the bad news, all that. The people that are really fans of the project are ones that believe, in human rights and privacy, and they say, I want to carry this out with you guys. It's the same reason the developers came on board with hardly any pay, and just, they're giving their time, their energy, their resources. A lot of the people that have given money to the project before, and the ones that have come on board with Particl, are people that share the same vision, the same why. Like, why are we doing this?
Sure.
Because there's all sorts of projects you can put your money in.
Yeah, that's right.
Some that'll do better, some that'll do worse. And we expect people, they'll kind of go here, go there. But for the people that have come aboard Particl, and the ones that especially have put most of the resources in Particl, are people that say, I agree with what you guys are trying to do. I want to be a part of it, and I want to help get this out to the world. Okay. And so those are the people that, that's why people would give money.
And you want to talk about the price tag and what we're paying for?
Yeah. So,
As a contributor?
So what is the price tag? Like for us to contribute, what are you
What are you
asking
getting?
for?
Yeah.
What
is
are
it?
you?
Right.
What
So
are we
if you go
paying
to the
for?
Particl website, there's multiple milestones. The first one was just basically to fund the development, like pay guys like Rhino and Paul and different people, to fund their work so they can work full time, contribute, and get things really moving quickly, so we can get the minimum viable product out. It also will cover the cost of the legal costs, try and get the Swiss nonprofit foundation set up, all those types of things. And then we have a couple other milestones that one we've already hit 2. We're nearing in on the 3rd, but that is basically to hire longer term PR and marketing, bring on an extra dev. We've got one starting here soon. So all these new resources are going to allow us to get the product out sooner. Again, trying to be first to market.
So what it's fair to say, I would say, is what are we paying for? We're paying for salaries for the developers, legal fees for the
PR,
marketing, and also PR, right? Those are the
advertising,
three major costs
right.
of why you're raising money.
Right.
Sure.
So that's what's getting in and what you're actually paying for is. We set up a roadmap and a budget to say, hey, how much money do we need to get us from point A to point B, and point A to point B being get the minimum viable product out, and also get the the legal structure in place so that we can have a professional project.
Sure.
And then after that, then we'll talk about the primary round that we want to do later.
Yeah, sure.
And then we can tell people, hey, this is what that's going to pay for.
Yeah. But for this round,
that's what this is for.
That's what this is for. And of course, the price tag, like, how much is all that going to cost? What you just described.
Right.
How much does
so milestone
cost?
1 was 250,000. Milestone 2 was double
And that's
that.
in US dollars?
US
Yes.
dollars.
Yep. 500,000 was milestone 2, and 750,000 is milestone 3.
Okay, sure.
All right. So thank you for joining us, guys, on this third part of this video series. For more information, you can visit www.particl.io for more information about the Particl project. Thanks for joining us in this video. and we'll look forward to seeing you guys in a future video.